Hello and welcome to this broadcast. Today I'm going to be talking about ethnic politics, tribal politics. The essence of this video is a reaction to what a university professor said about a political opponent in Nigeria who is not from his tribe. So I'm going to be talking about Professor Yusuf. Professor Yusuf is a Nigerian from northern Nigeria and he is of the Fulani extraction. So he made a comment about another political opponent who is from the southeast of Nigeria in the person of Peter Obi. The professor was of the opinion that Peter Obi is associated with the indigenous people of Biafra, a proscribed terrorist organization. On the basis of that, the north, where Professor Yusuf came from, will not support Peter Obi, that Peter Obi is not sellable in the north politically. He also said that Peter Obi is more concerned about his tribe, that is the Igbo tribe where he came from, that Peter Obi was Igbo-centric, and that during Peter Obi's tenure as the governor of Anambra State, that is a state in the southeast of Nigeria where he came from, that Peter Obi didn't treat the northerners well. They were going to interrogate him. And the fact that Peter Obi also said he was going to release his brother, Nnamdi Kanu, who is being incarcerated currently for asking that the Biafrans, the Igbos, consider themselves Biafrans, and they have been agitating for their own separate country. So Nnamdi Kanu was considered a secessionist and a terrorist by the Nigerian government, and that because Peter Obi advocated for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, the North will also not support him. So he said a lot of things. I paraphrased here. He said a lot of things, but then the focus of this video is just for me to talk about the dangers of ethnic and religious politics. And during the course of my presentation or broadcast, I shall be juxtaposing Nigeria with Kenya, because anybody who has a sense of history understands that Kenya and Nigeria are countries that are heavily divided along ethnic and religious lines. And we have seen the impact over the years. So I'm going to be reacting to what Professor said. So in Nigeria, in case you are watching me from outside Nigeria, it is important to stress that to win election in Nigeria, you have to appeal to the ethnic and religious sensibilities of people. Electioneering campaign in Nigeria is not about telling people the plan you have got for them in terms of economic growth and development, how you are going to move Nigeria or Kenya from third world to first world. More often than not, it's about the ethnicity. It's about the religious beliefs of the masses. So when you find a professor making such comment about a political opponent who is not from his region, that where he came from, they are not going to support him for reasons that are not clear, is quite alarming. For me, it shows backwardness, because in civilized societies, you hardly see people talk like that, especially people who have gone to school. educated people. Leadership is about providing, making life easy for people. It's about ensuring growth and development. It's about competence. It's about robust economic plan to move the country forward. It's about ensuring that children have access to education, access to healthcare, and other important facilities. But before I move forward, I would like to say something very, very important about northern Nigeria, where Professor Yusuf came from, and the current security situation in the country. Professor Yusuf is of the Fulani ethnic extraction. And if you have been following what is happening in Nigeria, the Fulanis have been accused of committing genocide in the middle belt of Nigeria. The herdsmen that were recently proscribed by the Nigerian government as terrorist organization or group, they are members of Professor Yusuf's tribe. They are his kinsmen. They are the one moving from one part of the country to another, causing mayhem, terrorizing people. About 60% of the terrorists in Nigeria are Fulanis. So they form part of the majority of the problem we have in the country. And if you talk about governance in northern Nigeria, where Professor Yusuf came from, if you go down the northwest of Nigeria, virtually all the governors there are his kinsmen. They are Fulanis. But the reality on ground is that that part of the world is very backward in terms of infrastructural development, in terms of economic growth and development. So many out-of-school children. But Professor will not bother his conscience with those realities. He is concerned about the man from another region. Why is the North very poor? If you go to the Northeast, for example, some of the states in the northeast of Nigeria are also occupied by his kinsmen. And the same could be said of them. In terms of infrastructural growth and development, there is poverty there. So if you move from the north down south in Nigeria, it's like you are in two different countries. I am from the north, I am a northerner myself. And I can tell you, the viewers, categorically that the north where I came from is very backward. I envy people from the south because over time they've been able to attain, at least by Nigerian standards, significant growth and development. We, the northerners, we are only concerned about religion and ethnicity. So when Professor made the statement that the North will not support P2B, which of the North is he talking about? Has he consulted with the Hausas? The Hausas are the majority in northern Nigeria, but somehow the Fulanis dominate them politically. The Fulanis are the leaders, both political leaders and even religious leaders. The Hausas are occupied people, according to what many Nigerians are saying now, because over time the Fulanis have shown that they don't allow fair representation in northern Nigeria. And even though all of them are Muslim, the Hausas are being subjugated. So I don't know if Professor Yusuf had done a survey, and then from his survey, he asked Hausa people, and the Hausa people said to him that they were not going to vote for P2B. These are the problems we have in Nigeria. In my previous video, I spoke about me doing a correlation analysis about the poverty in northern Nigeria and the Igbo man from the southeast of the country. The purpose of the correlation analysis was to find out if the Igbo man is responsible for the poverty in northern Nigeria, but I didn't find any positive result. The Igbos are not the policymakers in northern Nigeria. They are not the governors. Just like you have county in Kenya, the person who is in charge of a particular county has a significant role to play in developing that county. The equivalent of county in Nigeria is a state. The governors of the state in northern Nigeria, how far? What have they done to remove children from the street? If you go to the south east of Nigeria, where this presidential candidate Peter Obi came from, children are in school. The literacy level there is very high. Why is it that the poverty headquarter of Nigeria is the north? But Professor is not concerned about what is happening in the north. His problem is the presidential candidate from another region. And for my viewers, I would love to tell you that we, the Northerners, will stay in power far longer than anyone from other regions of the country. What have we used the political power to achieve? Babangida was there. Sani Abacha was there. Abdulsalami Abubakar was there. Muhammad Buhari was there. Tafawa Balewa was there. Sir Ahmadu Bello was also there. But when you compare us from the north with those from the south, the difference is clear. The south is far, far ahead of the north in terms of developmental indices. So I expect the professor to look inward and talk to the governors who are responsible for security, who are responsible for economic growth and development in the northern part of the country. But he is obsessed with the presidential candidate from another region, saying that the Muslim North is not going to support Peter Obi. That Peter Obi, when he came to the North, he was visiting churches and telling the Christians there that they have to reclaim their country. And he asked, from whom? I would love to correct this impression and to tell Professor Yusuf that the Muslim ticket we have in Nigeria today, the North, the Fulani North, was the architect of the Muslim ticket that we have today in Nigeria. When El-Rufai was the governor of Kaduna State, it is on record that the people of Southern Kaduna, who were predominantly Christian, were marginalized. And he used the same blueprint for the presidential election in 2023, where he supported President Bola Ahmed Tinubu from the southwest of Nigeria, a Yoruba man. It is natural that, given Nigeria's situation in terms of the population and the religious beliefs, you have Christian on one side, you have Muslim on the other side. So if a Christian from the southwest of Nigeria if a Muslim from the southwest of Nigeria is contesting, it is natural that he should get someone who is a Christian from the north. A Muslim from the south naturally will get a Christian from the north. That is how it has been. When Obasanjo from the southwest was the president, he picked, because Obasanjo was a Christian, he picked a Muslim from the north in the person of Atiku Abubakar. When Umaru Musa Yar'Adua was there, he picked Goodluck Jonathan from the south. Umaru Musa Yar'Adua from the north is a Muslim, a Fulani man. He picked Goodluck Jonathan, who is a Christian, from the south, just to allow for fair representation given Nigeria's situation. But El-Rufai said no. He was among the people who fought very hard to impose President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Nigeria. But today, El-Rufai is in prison. And recently I was reading in the news, people said that the bail terms and conditions were too harsh for him. The same government that he brought to power jailed him. He worked very hard to go to prison. So he should stay there and enjoy the consequences of what he brought upon himself and Nigerians. But today, Professor Yusuf is saying that they are not going to vote for Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which they, the Fulani Cabals, brought to power. So you are complaining about P2B telling Christians that they should reclaim their country. What about the Muslim Cabals in northern Nigeria, mainly the Fulanis, who brought Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a Muslim from the southwest of Nigeria, and then Kashim Shettima, a Muslim from the north? What happened to the Christians in the north? If you want to talk about P2B appealing to the religious sentiment of the Christians in the north. So for me, all these things These are just nothing short of double standard. And even comparing Nnamdi Kanu with Bello Turji, you know, Bello Turji is a known killer. Nnamdi Kanu has not done anything that Bello Turji had done. The only thing they are arresting Nnamdi Kanu and giving him life sentence is that he made a radio broadcast asking for the separation of Biafra from Nigeria. That he said things he shouldn't have said through a radio broadcast. He was not seen with any weapon. But Bello Turji is a notorious terrorist terrorizing people in Zamfara state. So many people have been killed by gang members affiliated to him. He's even caught on camera sometimes making videos with sophisticated rifles, weapons. What has the Nigerian government done to arrest him? So these are the issues. So I said earlier that I was going to make comparison between Nigeria and Kenya. The election in 2007 in Kenya, there was a very serious riot that broke out where some members of the Kalenjin ethnic extraction were attacking the Kikuyu people living in the Rift Valley. You know, in Kenya, the Kalenjin considered the Rift Valley as the ancestral home. So when that crisis started, following that election between Moi Kibaki and Raila Odinga, the Kikuyu living in the Rift Valley have to move their children, their families to their rural homes because they came under heavy attack. Thanks to ethnic politics. The same thing happened in Nigeria in 2011 when Goodluck Jonathan was declared the winner of the 2011 election. What happened? The Hausas in northern Nigeria, all the coppers that were employed by INEC as ad hoc staffs from the Christian extraction, a significant number of them were murdered by the Muslim. In 2011, people serving their country, Nigerians, were killed by fellow Nigerians just because of religious differences. Goodluck Jonathan, a Christian, shouldn't go there. So how come he was declared winner? The Muslims went after the Christians who were working with the electoral body in Nigeria and started killing them. It was a massacre. So in Kenya and Nigeria, we have a problem. In Kenya, it is more of ethnic rivalry. In Nigeria, it is more religious. So these are issues that if we don't take time to address, our countries will not grow. I listened to Professor Lumumba saying that Africa will be recolonized, and I agree with him. Because when I look at the reality on ground, our trajectory in terms of this thing called democracy is very poor. I don't see us moving in the right direction. So I think Professor Yusuf should have a rethink. This idea of stoking ethnic sentiment and saying you are not going to vote for somebody you accuse him of having a relationship with a proscribed terrorist organization. Where are the proofs? And in northern Nigeria, we have leaders sympathizing with terrorists. Is it not in northern Nigeria that people who have committed genocide, who have gone to villages, terrorists, known terrorists, captured terrorists, who go to villages to sack Christian villages and even kill moderate Muslims? The government in northern Nigeria is rehabilitating them and sending them back to the society. And today you are telling us that P2B has a relationship with IPOB, a proscribed terrorist group. Because of that, the North will not support him. And we knew what happened, that the Nigerian government quickly proscribed IPOB. These are just people fighting for their own independent country because they see that Nigeria is not working, because they see that they have been marginalized. Since the inception of democracy in Nigeria in 1999, a typical Igbo man has never been president, and the Igbos are among the major ethnic groups in Nigeria. Professor Yusuf, what do you make of that? You complain about marginalization in the north, that they should pardon the Fulani terrorists who are killing people everywhere. They should give them amnesty, comparing them with these people, these militant from the south of Nigeria, Niger Delta militant. The Niger Delta militant did not commit the atrocity that the Fulani terrorists are committing in northern Nigeria. You cannot compare the two in terms of the gravity of their offenses. So the double standard is clear, and this compulsive obsession with P2B, a candidate from the southeast of Nigeria who has nothing to do with the poverty in northern Nigeria, for me, is a clear indication that something is wrong somewhere. I'm from the north myself. If you ask me, I will never come out to blame anybody from any other region in the country, because sometimes I feel ashamed. And this thing I'm saying has nothing to do with whether you are a Christian or you are a Muslim. Both the Christian governors in northern Nigeria and the Muslim governors, all of them, they have failed people. They receive allocation from the federal government, yet children are on the street. Professor, how do you reconcile that with your constant attack on P2B? So, my viewers from all over the world, I'm making this broadcast just to send a message to all of us. This idea of loyalty to our ethnicity, instead of focusing on economic growth and development, instead of focusing on competence, is leading us into the abyss. If you want to identify a backward society, watch how the educated people among them behave. When a professor is talking about not voting for somebody because he came from a particular tribe, he is sympathetic to his people. But you have your own people who are sympathetic to terrorists. It is not a good sign. I was watching Professor Lumumba from Kenya. There was a time that Kunjo Ewala was contesting for a position at the World Trade Center. A Kenyan was also interested in the position. Professor Lumumba, a Kenyan, told his fellow Kenyan to step down for Kunjo Ewala, who is a Nigerian, saying that Kunjo Ewala is more qualified. When are we good? And I'm talking about Kenya, this man is from Kenya, despite the problem in Kenya. When are we going to behave well in Nigeria? El-Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna State, he was explaining the reasons for supporting Tinubu, the current president of Nigeria, during the 2023 election, that some group of Muslims from the Yoruba land, southwest of Nigeria, came to them. There is a group that represents the Yoruba people, Yoruba Muslims. They call it Murik. That Murik came to him and told him that the Tinubu and his people, are members of Murik. Everything was about Islam, that they should support the Muslim side of the southwest of Nigeria. That was why he supported Bola Ahmed Tinubu. El-Rufai is educated, so it was never about good governance. It was never about competence, but religion. And these are educated people. So my advice is that we must have a rethink in the way we behave. If you go to England, the man from Manchester will vote for another person from London. Even against his own brother from Manchester, he will tell you, no, your record is not good. I will vote for that person from London. There is nothing like, this one is from my tribe. You think they don't have tribe? You think Europeans don't have tribe? If you go to the United Kingdom, the Welsh are there. The Scots are there, the Irish are there, the English are there. But they don't allow ethnicity to influence their decision when it came time for them to vote for proper governance, for good leadership. Europeans have tribes, if you don't know. But they prioritize economic growth and development more than ethnic and religious identity. So please, we must have a rethink in the way we behave and attack people. Sometimes it's shameful, for us to come out like this and talk about other people. I feel ashamed as a northerner. Professor Yusuf is someone I respect a lot because he was highly critical of Buhari when Buhari was in charge and a lot of things were going wrong. I give him credit for that. But his obsession with P2B, I think he should tone it down because it's an indication of our lack of accountability in northern Nigeria. So for my viewers, thank you very much for your time. Share my video. If this is your first time, share with your friends and family, your loved ones. Subscribe and like this video. Thank you very much, and I will see you in my next presentation.